You and I had never really met before,
We
so
haven't met before. In fact, this is if you will, this is my oddly timed coming out party into the greater Twin Peaks fan community, right? So up to this point, I have been a consumer of all of the peripheral media, right? And I'm teetering on the ledge right now where I've had this theory that's ebbed and flowed, and it's sort of cultivated itself into a fairly strong idea. So I would like to make a video essay series that speaks to my theory, which, is a cross section of many theories that are out there with some things that I haven't heard before. I think it's going to take a full-fledged video series to do that. I think it's going to take, in some sense, not a video, not an episode recap, but I most certainly think you could get away with going episode by episode to all explore this together. Another thought that crossed my mind was perhaps before I even got to that, maybe a strange podcast wherein all together we make the agreement we're going to test this theory out. If this thing's got enough legs, let's all go on this journey together. While I'm researching, we'll all talk about it together, right? I'll tell you what I found. You'll tell me what you think, right?
I think you might just do something that's fun for you.
Yeah, I write for a
Yeah.
living. I'm a songwriter and
Okay.
and more broadly a writer. That's how I make my living. So for it to be for it to be really fun, I'd love to be on the video side of things, right? Or the open discussion side of things. I almost see there's a podcast with me and my wife as we're investigating this theory, being very open. Hey, this is how we see it.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. What are your notes, honey? These are my notes. Hey guys, what do you guys think about this? It might be cool. I don't know if anybody has walked into a theory without having their total key completed and ask the audience, join us on this trip and let's see if this whole damn thing falls apart in the process, right? Something interesting about that, though your show could come to an abrupt close, you know?
Yeah. Or take a sharp left turn,
Yes,
some sort,
right.
you know.
But I mean, like if somebody presented me with that, let's go on this journey. And this is now the framework. We're gonna watch every single week together, right? That's an interesting concept. So maybe that, but it's all gonna result in video essay at the end of the day.
Are you concerned about the level of effort and time commitment that
Oh,
would be
for
required to do something like
sure.
this?
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's going to take me a year just to retouch with everybody's theories
Mm.
and philosophies, give credit where it's due, see where that takes me. But what a tremendous amount of work just to get up to bat.
Okay. If it's something you're passionate about and you have the time to commit to it, I have found that like getting involved in this stuff is really fun. There are times where I have a lot of time to commit to it, and then there are times where I don't. I don't think a lot of people watch or listen, but those who do are pretty cool. I've made contact with a lot of really neat people. Um, it's sometimes I've put in more hours than I should because it's not like there's no financial stuff going on here, but it's a hobby. It's fun for me, something I care about. It's something I enjoy. But if it's like a massive time commitment and that's like that's real for every person. Like I know some
Yeah.
people like they have revenue streams and whatnot. I don't know anything about that. It's just like a hobby for me, what I do. So I couldn't advise one way or the other, but that would be a decision you'd have to make. What I do know is that you and I just spoke briefly as I paused the record button, and you had a lot of ideas that you just floated just gently that I hadn't heard before, and I thought they were interesting and intriguing. So I do think people would want to hear what you had to say. Now,
Awesome.
what form you put it in, I'm not so sure. But I do think a lot of people would be intrigued, by the angle that you had. Can I ask you, without giving anything away, what might be like four or five different settings or characters or maybe objects that you'd probably get into as you got into your series if you were to do one?
But the first thing that I would get into is Jungian theory. I think it starts with that. I think that there's an introduction to the shadow self philosophy that Mark Frost, a conversation that happens between the two of them, that sort of changes the direction of Lynch's career. I think he becomes obsessed with the idea of multiple personality, cognitive fugue. Clearly, that's the case. That becomes the idea that defines his life's work of what, under what circumstance does a person then feel like or become or trade places with another person. I think you'd absolutely have to explore every element of the lodges, every single element of things that operate within inside of the context of lodge theory and or space, right? The Dutchmans, things like this. I think that they have very definitive meanings. I think that I think they, as representatives within inside of the show, as representation of what's happening external to the show, I think they have very definitive meanings. I would spend a lot of time on that. I think that characters operate not just in the set in as characters in that setting, but they also have representations that they represent as well, and they're doing very specific functions unbeknownst to them. And so there would be a lot of that. Every lodge entity would have to be focused on Cooper as a device mechanism. What is the purpose of this device of Agent Cooper? What does that mean? And what does that mean to the actor that's playing Agent Cooper? And is there another layer of acting that's happening there? I think all of that's worth investigation. And a lot of this has been investigated before, but the way that I have it filed, I think is different. Certainly you could do video essays on it, man. There's so much there, right? And so that's the plan.